get it? The gale, the acts of God, everything that happens to create those massive waterfalls, the seismic activity, the reference to Vesuvius exploding onto the Christianity fraud. It is massive. And usually I start off my videos with "Good evening, my friends," because that little woman there, Gordon Bowden would say bitch, but I'm a lot more polite than that. That little woman there used to say "good evening" and "hello, my friends," as if she was a compassionate person. She laughs at the Anzac War dead and the Gallipoli joke, and that's the Mr. Bean character that was launched on the opening ceremony of the London Olympics, and the jokes about not running for your country as an amateur on a Sunday and being gunned down for a laugh for these people, and the profiteers that run all of the Olympic events, all of the Queen's illicit links with the Bank of England, the illicit links with the Royal Institution for International Affairs that takes you into the CIA and the double agents in wartime, and all of the twisted press people. Right, but we were telling a much sadder story on the disappearance of all of the pagans and the indigenous Indian people in America and Canada and the offshore islands, all of which belonged to them entirely and which they kept in good hands, and they could keep all of their stocks of buffalo and all of the rare species that we have rendered extinct for profit. There's the trenches where the dysentery was the major cause of death, and that is a huge laugh for these people. That's Quentin Bryce, forced into resignation within 6 weeks of me publishing those shocking facts that Mr. Bean at the London Olympics is a joke at the Anzac War dead, and all of the Anzac activists who ignore that are traitors to their dead relatives and to their country, and their country should not be fighting for these people because they are terrorists and they are profiteers for hundreds of years already. Okay? But I want to tell you a little bit about the philosophy that drives them along. So I'm going to take you back to the OneNote page and remind you that we were talking about this deviant. Yeah, that is James Fenimore Cooper, or it might be John Fenimore Cooper. He's the author of all of the romantic myths that mean that he becomes a powerhouse in the litigation events, and he is able to get rid of the innocents by executing them as traitors or people that turn on the ship's captain. And he is in the Navy, and it is a very dubious linkage, and I'm going to show you that now, because he's involved within weeks of his death. Yeah, it was the history of the Navy ship Constitution, and his death occurred spookily young. I'm not at all surprised by that, but the Putnam, the launch of the Putnam thing, the Chariots of Fire film in the London Olympics Anzac War dead joke, is directed by Lord Puttnam, who's a professor at Sunderland University and my boss for 6 years. Yeah, the man that was there to look after me academically is the highest paid Vice-Chancellor in our country. He's totally unfit for work even then. His name is David Fiddler, which is part of the geopolitical strip the money out of the system and put it in your own pockets joke. Okay, so Putnam's Monthly, it was the history of the Navy ship Constitution and became the first, this is funny, posthumous publication of this man's writings. Okay, God gets it right all of the time. Everything we do, all of the sins are on the transcript, and eventually you have to pay. Okay, so let me show you some of the sick jokes that we were sharing, and then I will just read you the sickening philosophy that is the Putnam stories. Okay, there's the stamps that commemorate Cooper's life. Yeah, and they are also having a laugh at what the Indians did to brutalise the white man, the pale face concept. Yeah, it's in German, it's Lederstrumpf, Ersanglungen, isn't that funny? And it's an American stamp. Yeah, Cooper's leather stocking tales, he's raping a woman, the whole lot of them are dead in a ditch. And when Pike does that, before I come along and publicise his pictures and his vicious goals, Pike also fell off his horse, but sadly for the rest of the world he did not break his neck. Yeah, that's a reference to Superman, the man who wanted to professionalise warfare and broke his back as a consequence. And the horse is also something that God cannot ignore, because it's part of the massive 2,000-year-old religious joke. Right then, and let me see whether or not we've got any other images on this. So this is just about his published output. There's the Bumppo character, which is about the life of Daniel Boone, and the Long Rifle. That's the Lock, Stock and Barrel film with Vinnie Jones and all sorts of deviant jokes about it. Okay, and the pistol in all of world history is a joke like the piano about the pie and the life of Pi and all of the resultant Oscars that Hollywood gets. That's the irony of the only Indian I have met in my life. His nickname as a rugby player was Hollywood. Okay? And the Bumppo character has a Mohican brother. Yeah? And he is known as Deerslayer Hawkeye. Now that's a very important name in the history of the jokes, because Hawkeye is in the comedy series about the medics in Vietnam. It is really sickening. And La Longue Carabine in The Last of the Mohicans, Pathfinder, and the leather stockings jokes. Let me show you again the hosen leather. I'm going much more quickly than I did this morning, and I'm hoping to be able to read you the philosophical, sickening stuff. So this is the joke about men being killed in stupid looking uniforms and kilts. Isn't it funny? Yeah, that's also the puppet on the Sound of Music string and the Austrian Navy joke. And they've got the little Phrygian hat that we've explained to you multiple times, and they've got all over the show the red, white and blue that is about treason, even in revolutionary France on both sides. Okay, right then, what else have we got? Let's see if we can see any more pictures, because it makes you sick. Lederhosen, leatherwear. This is what my dad calls being made a cod of. Yeah, traditional Bavarian men's clothing. Yeah, it is sick. Lederhosen. They've got the sporran, yeah, like the Freemasonic penny, and they are having the piss taken out of them without the vaguest insight, like the kilties that go to their death behind the drum. That's the Scottish victims of war and their loyalty to this corrupted and twisted system. I have not got any pictures of that, but look up the Las Vegas military tattoo, Alistair Hutton, one of its former directors, and you will see that he with the medals on his chest is a profiteering at everybody's expense, and particularly the war deads and their families. There we are, isn't that lovely? And they've got the oak and the little slit for the fania in them too. A double zipper lederhosen. And there we have an all-American Nazi youth member. Isn't it lovely? Yeah, and they've got loads of pocketses so that they can tuck things away. But this is about killing people in the lower ranks. Yeah, you don't see the generals and the field marshals like that. They have got really posh uniforms with baldrics all over them, and the medals all over their treasonous and murderous chests. And the kilt and the cowboy hat become just icons for slaughter on all sides, and particularly viciously against the world's innocent, meek and pagan nations. Yeah, I believe in the old days they were the witches. Yeah, they had no gods but the sun gods and the natural elements, and that is how the biological world has been for thousands of years, until we invented writing. Yeah, and psychological plans to take the ownership and to dispossess these people of the very small wits that they had before they became loyal to their country's armies, and that does not last very long at all in any case. Okay, there we go. You get to wrestle in them. Yeah, shop that sells old lederhosen in Munich. Yeah, they're likely to be the equivalent of the Coldstream light infantry's, the Coldstream Guards dead man's boot shop. Okay, then we've got the Yale connection to the Linonian secret societies. The secret societies run it all, and these guys that write about it are really proud of it. Yeah, so this is a secret society, Josiah Whitney, class of 1839. It's run out of Yale University, which is a massively elite institution. Fenimore Cooper is an alumni, class of 1806. Henry Leavitt Ellsworth, 1810, a commissioner to Indian tribes on the western frontier. So you get the posh guys to police them, to herd them up in reservations, and then you can do whatever you like with them. The Baldwins in the Acton dynasty are in The River Runs Through It film, because it's about having a laugh at the drunken Indian woman in the cast. An American lawyer involved in the Amistad case, who later became the 32nd governor of Connecticut and a United States senator. Christian missionaries to the Hawaiian Islands. Okay, these are members of a secret society. Eli Whitney, yeah, class of 1789, an American inventor best known for inventing the cotton gin. That's the slaves and the cotton fields for the black men and the Scottish exiles. Run by the Sutherlands, and I've got their director numbers. Hales, Hillhouse, another Baldwin, another Abraham, Timothy Dwight. Yeah, so these are the secret societies that cull the poor and the underprivileged. Linonia, and that's the linoleum joke, founded in 1753 as Yale University's second literary and debating society. Look it up on the internet really quickly. I'm going to move on. This is a joke about the modern scams against the Indian nations and the corruption of their leaders. That's a man called Leonard Peltier, and if you look up Peltier on YouTube, you will find the 18-year-old girl from New Zealand singing with the blind musician. It is sick. The American Indian movement is a cover for the AIM, which is the investment markets. Yeah, it is sick, sick, sick. And he's in Coleman Prison, Florida, to get everybody twisted up with the anti-Semitic issues, and all of it leads to the sentencing and the jailing of someone. But all of the cover-ups occur around the time when President Nixon is being a deviant and a murderous genocidal leader in Vietnam, where Hawkeye is the joke in the clinical team. Right then, let's see if there are any more pictures. I'm just going to show you pictures and get through it really quickly, because my son's coming to visit, and that's very rare now. I'm not allowed to have access to my family. Do you get it? American Indian Mission, freedom for Leonard Peltier. Maybe I've got the hyperlink for the Peltier song. at the bottom, but I don't think so. Okay, this takes you right back to Wounded Knee and all of the shenanigans. And the person who's abusing his own people by that time is President Wilson. President Wilson of the AIM. Yeah, he's in charge of the affairs and trying to get something back from the white man or the pale faces that stole it all. And they even use the eagle as their country's logo. And in Russia it has 2 heads on it. Right then, what else have we got? Wounded Knee, shedding the blame, and this is the incidents about Wilson, and here we've got the American Indian movement, the US Marshal Service. I mentioned the Marshall Awards this morning. I will show you the woman that runs the ballet dancing profiteering sector out of Glasgow, the city of culture. Okay, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, totally corrupted for all of its history. When our mission will be over, when everything that America believes is a lie. Casey, cross-dresser, the next one who took over, okay, and his middle name was Maria for a laugh because of their power. Okay, there's the head of the Indian nation at that time, Richard A. Wilson, President Wilson. Yeah, that's cover for Woodrow Wilson's massive sins in World War I. He's a genocidal leader in in Vietnam, and in the following cases of all of the narcotics laundering through Latin America, through the Golden Triangle, which America entirely brutalized for its power base, yeah, and through Marseille in France. There we got the American Indian movement. Isn't that funny? The stock exchange is the aim. It's for the elite investors that steal from the rest of the world. And the Wounded Knee place is where they put the Indians in shallow graves. They used automatic weapons, Sten guns, to bring them down. My son's just arrived. I'm going to try and finish this off. And they used this to impeach President Richard Wilson, as if America was prepared to take on one of its biggest criminals. Okay, and that is the Olga Corbett joke, Oglala Sioux Civil Rights Organization. I'm going to let my son in. Okay, right then, I'm going to make this short. I'll take you through all the tabs, but I'll leave the philosophy to video number 3. I'll show you the pictures. I'll keep your attention that way. Let me just show you the pictures first of the Putnam news vents. It is sick, and it's ancient history, and it means the world is driven chaotically by secret societies from the most elite universities on the globe on all continents. But the Chinese and the Russians and the Asians are not in the leadership team, they're just the victims. Okay, so there is some of the jokes about the Putnam issues and the actual journal that they produce. Let me show you some of the cheap shot jokes that they laugh at. So Tourbillon is part of the literary output. That's Round Ridge. I'm not sure why I found that funny or shocking. And Passamaka D passes of Maka. No. So let me just click on that hyperlink and I'll show you the really sick philosophy behind this. Digital library at Cornell University. And this is the Nottingham joke, and it stinks. And it's the launch of this Putnam story. So I've shown you the links in the London Olympics to Putnam and the genocides that were occurring in Gallipoli and occurred in both World War I and the Crimean conflict, with the British monarchs as Germans on the massive warships offshore, pounding their troops from offshore, with the Brits trapped in between a tiny number of well-trained and German-led Turks. Okay, so this is the publication that we were looking for, and this is the title of the next article. Oh no, have I got the wrong? Secret societies. So this is what I want you to know, okay? The Notting Hill, the Nottingham jokes are about the American Masons and the secret societies that have this as their motto, the know-nothings. Yeah? The know-nothings. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It is as evil and as deviant as anything in world history, and it becomes the havens for the money launderers that become the prime ministers in Britain, since Dennis Thatcher learned how to do the laundering in Finchley Road near Notting Hill, and it becomes a target for the American Zionist propagandist in the Hollywood films. Yeah, and that ties in all of those people that get remunerated from the Leveson inquiry for their persecution by the people that hack telephones and look into other people's homes. That's Andy Coulson, Rebecca Brooks, and all of the Prime Ministerial team. Okay, I'll take you to the beginning of it, and hopefully, I was hoping that we would see a picture of that, but that's relatively unimportant. I'm going to take you back and get the story told. I will read you that document later, the know-nothings. Do you see what the joke is? Yeah, it's about the philosophy of how the world could be civilization, and it is exactly the antithesis of that movement. Everything that they do is warmongering and killing and keeping the numbers of the poor people down and keeping the elites in a super powerful position, so that if somebody refuses to fight for them, they get shot as a deserter with no trial. That's martial law, and that is the Mars Hill joke that I'm going to explain to you again and again until I get it into your skulls. The skulls are also a secret society. I forget which university that was. I believe it might be Georgetown in Washington, and the whole thing, when you begin to talk about it, all of it rings alarm bells, because they're secret societies to steal and kill. Right then, so my son's here now. I'll try and truncate this video so that we can focus on their philosophy and their enlightened writings later on. Do you get the magnitude of that? That is Robin Hood, the all-British hero that was prepared to defend his country when we were already brutalising the Holy Lands. Good King Richard. Yeah, it's absolutely tragic. But now that we can read and write and talk to each other, like I'm going to be doing to the American revolutionary tonight, who's been abused by her government, abused by our law enforcement officials, abused physically by her police, yeah, and abused by her own husband, who now has access to her female children. Yeah, she's been stripped of her right to work already, and I'm talking to her tonight, and none of these things will be covered up anymore. Right then, Putnam Genesis, Putnam text, wow. Sorry, so this is just what you've seen, and the title for, please note that the book is published by Cornell University, and it has got that title of Putnam's Monthly. Publication dates 1853 to 1870. Okay, but no one is prepared to tell you who the author is. They use nicknames and pseudonyms like the ABEL DANGER movement. Yeah, and even I have a nickname and pseudonym, and the ABEL DANGER is able to publish all of its work and to make profits from that and to travel around the world. And this week they went to Nottingham. And I got a great, twice this morning I've had seagulls shit on my window. You might have heard John Patterson and I talking about the seagulls and the occult and the messages from the gods. I'm reading it now really clearly. The physical unity of the human race. That's the previous article. Yeah, it's in Latin. That's the giveaway that it is the 2,000-year-old fraud. This is Cornell University now. I'm going to take you through what the know-nothings actually do in life in the third video. This is the Cornell web page, and you can see it takes you through vast tracts of genocidal time. Okay, Boolean search, they're ever so sophisticated. Putnam's Monthly Magazine of American Literature, Science and Art. Look it up on the internet really quick. It will be taken down within the week. Yeah, and Quentin Bryce will be quaking again, because they are jokers at our war dead. G.P. Putnam and Company, place of publication, New York. The Columbia Project, the plantation for the empire upon which the sun is gonna set really, really quickly. And you should see how old Prince Charlie boy looks now. Right then, and there's the icon that I showed you this morning about it making America. Yeah, and the Moa. Yeah, and all of it, all the little icons of greatness. Browse making America. The big red, and the Cornell University that launches it is part of the wealth divide, and they keep the black men and the red men and the red Indians in a really, really uneducated place, because they're spirited people, and we know that they physically and mentally they used to be strong when their land belonged to them, but we've taken that away from them. And that is typified by the movie made about psychiatry and the incarceration of a spirited white man who befriends the Indian in the asylum, and the Indian is able to escape, but the white man ends up the victim of ECT, which is the Cameron science out of McGill University in Canada. The name of that movie is The Cuckoo's Nest, something that flew over the cuckoo's nest, and it's about healthcare and nursing, and it is really cynical. And the salmon that they catch are just like the salmon I told you about before. The whole of the American continent was despoiled, fished out, and the buffaloes became the lederhosen joke. The Ithaca campus, this is right outside New York, and look what they buy into. This is the owners, the Fenimore Coopers. When they arrive and they displace the Indians into their internment camps or a pile of bones, they buy 4,300 acres for Cornell University, so they can sell it off in little chunks, like Reading University, that have said to me that I'm a very incompetent researcher and I don't deserve a job with them. I'm going to dub on them until they resign, because they are crooks. Right then, 44 Nobel laureates, 29 Rhodes scholars, 34 Marshall scholars. I'll show you that now. The land grants are massive. I think I showed you that this morning. Yeah, you can look that up if you want. It's about dispossessing the Native Americans of everything that was theirs. They had no laws, they only had the biological rules that God gave them. Yeah, and no doubt the tribes fought amongst themselves, but the buffaloes, they were prudent enough to keep all of the rare species rare or prosperous, and they flourished under the Native American rules. When the white man comes with the gun, everybody's dead in the ditch, and the leather from the buffalo is the lederhosen on all sorts of different continents, and is still a joke on the ski slopes in Germany. Okay, the Marshall scholars, this is what I told you about yesterday. There's the Marshall that it's named after, and that is the Mars Hill religious joke. A molehill to a mountain. Yeah, that's the Christian Bible, and how effectively it has defrauded the world. Okay, the British ideals and way of life. Okay, so you've got the Rhodes Scholarship that only applies to people from Oxbridge, I believe. Yeah, but now you've got something here where the sort of feeble-minded Yanks can get into the money stream. And I was quite stunned that when I read the list of people that hold the Marshall Scholarships, it is really okay. Up to 40 scholars are selected each year, 31 in 2015, out of pool of approximately 1,000 applicants. It is very competitive. And when I looked at the list of famous alumni, there was nobody I recognised except for a Chen. Dick Chen's brother, I believe, is a chemist, and he's on the list. But I found a woman, and here's the list. So the Babbitts, everything that they laugh at in popular culture is covered up. He went to Lord Puttnam's Newcastle Uni, yeah, Governor of Arizona, Secretary of the Interior for President Bill Clinton, the thief. Yeah, the McKinsey company that is part of Bill Clinton's global cabal. Yeah, and that's the Nancy McKinstry joke about all of the legal land grabs. CEO of Scottish Ballet, this is the woman that I talked about this morning briefly, Cindy Segru, University of Boston, that's likely to be Harvard, which is a much more famous way of expressing yourself. University of Sheffield, 1985, the only one I looked up is the CEO of Scottish Ballet. £60 invested in share flotation, 36,000 results from that. 240 directors active at the Conservatoire in the Glasgow City of Culture. It's sick. And Iroquois, where all of the cull started, yeah, because it's on the eastern coast, right next to New York, and it is tragic. All of a sudden, all of the indigenous races have gone. Okay, and the pictures tell the story much better than I can. Yeah, they're simple people. They run their life. They run their lives with the rules that they've been brought up with, and all of a sudden the automatic weapon arrives, and then all of a sudden the central bank takes everything, even from the settlers. I'm not sure what else is in this. We might have time for that at the end of the philosophy in video number 3. The 6 nations and the 5 nations. So this is the group of tribes that were labelled as the 5 nations. Isn't that funny? It might be really dangerous for that guy Woody that has the cardiovascular ailment that his dad died of, yeah, who's professionalised rugby in Ireland, yeah, and has a cardiomyopathy, a heart rhythm defect. It then became the 6 nations when the Italians joined the rugby. Yeah, there's the nations: Mohawk, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, Seneca. Yeah, a joke about the pills that you use to treat constipation, and Tuscarora. Yeah, and that's the reverse of the joke about the Andrews liver salts that were used to treat the dysentery in the constipation in the elite sector in the pinstripe suits in Britain as they were culling the Anzac and British war dead in Gallipoli in 2 great conflicts. Okay, so this is the Iroquois story. Again, I need you to look it up. I'm going to give some quality time to my son because it's very rare. Please listen to the videos in the next few days because we're going to be confronting the abuses of the legal system in Britain and in America. And I'm taking it right to the top of the war crimes tree, and I'm taking it back to the most important events in political history. Bye bye. Yeah, have a look at it for yourself. Yeah, and realise that the joke about Putnam and the chariots of fire is much older and much more vicious than what I've presented, and has led to spates of resignation from the murderous politicians that we still have in power. Bye.